fill your name and affiliation in the chat. And we are starting the recording, and we'll post the agenda in the chat, but let's get started with Jeannie and Christine to see if they can point out any new people. And Bert, you can join them too.
What, is Jeannie gonna introduce anybody?
The power just went out at our house, so I gotta come in by the screen, and it's hard to see the whole screen. So I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be a whole lot of help.
You know, Riley, why don't you go ahead and call on anybody, because I think I know most of the folks. So why don't you go ahead and just call on some new folks to introduce themselves.
Kimberly, Otter.ai. You have an AI person here?
I think, you know, what they do is they actually have Otter log in, and Otter, yeah, Otter AI is the kind of like a note taker, like an AI note taker.
Kimberly is it's Kimberly Thayer, and she's actually on our DE team,
Okay.
digital equity plan team. But she should, I'm not sure why she's, maybe the power went out for her too.
Yeah, it looks like I recognize most of the names too. So we can get started with you know, last week we went to, a bunch of us went to the NDIA Digital Inclusion Conference in San Antonio. And we would like Rebecca Soon to start off with a little ole that we did prior to Bert's award presentation. So why don't you take it away, Rebecca?
Aloha, good morning. Thanks, Riley. I'm actually down the street from you, sitting here in the Kona Airport. So, which, by the way, the Wi-Fi is strong. So happy for that. You know, as Riley mentioned, you know, a group of us that were up at the Net Inclusion Conference last week in San Antonio, we're really honored to be able to be there to see the award that Bert was being recognized with. And so just as a sort of sharing of aloha and sharing of our culture with people who were there from across the continent, we did a brief ole aloha, and I put it in chat in case anybody wants to join, or if you want to join along from wherever you are, please feel free to do that. And I'm just going to sort of briefly just open us again. This is just a sort of a, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's just a welcoming, it's just an aloha, it's just sharing aloha, and it's sort of was intended to sort of help further connect us to the people who were there. So this was for you, Bert, but also from Hawaii to the folks that were there at the conference. Oh, naunai kahala me kale halele wado yana rano oh ka uno ya no ine li ane ho io ka hiki mai ai ki mai no oko ai ki puno me aloha aloha aloha. Aloha. Mahalo.
So we'll go right into showing you the live stream the award presentation. And so Shola's gonna share her screen, and we're gonna show the actual recording of the presentation to Bert at the conference.
Sorry, just double checking. Could you hear this?
Yes.
Okay.
Just turn it up a little bit, maybe.
Aloha, this is Sophia. I'm the Lieutenant Governor for the state of Hawaii.
Apparently, the last line says it's love is amazing. Go ahead, there she is.
The importance of broadband, whether it was in our workplace or in education, or even to receive quality healthcare. We realize all too much that broadband and reliable broadband was an important facet of our lives. Congratulations to many people who have worked to ensure broadband equity and access. In the state of Hawaii, I want to especially congratulate Bert Lum, who heads the Digital Broadband Equity Office. And he is this year's Digital Equity Champion awardee. And without him, many of the things that we did in the state of Hawaii would not have been possible. So congratulations, Bert.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Aloha, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And of course, I have to say that this is probably one of the greatest honors in my life. I do have to, obviously, Lieutenant Governor, thanks for that recognition. And, there's a lot of things that have happened over the course of the last 2+ years. The Broadband Hui, we started meeting back in March of 2020. And this past Wednesday was the 146th meeting of the Broadband Hui. And I have to admit, the Broadband Hui really is the group, the team, the constituents that have really helped to, make this recognition a reality. I also want to thank a couple of folks that, kind of helped to get my framing of what digital equity is all about. Our first community network was over at Puhonua, Waimanalo, and that was thanks largely to the Internet Society. And I will say that the Benton Institute for Broadband and Society, that is my regular reading, probably for the last. It's a daily newsletter, and I read it every day religiously. And I'll tell you, Kevin, that this reading is, if it's not in the Benton newsletter, to me, it's not real. So that is where I get my real news about broadband and digital equity. And of course, I want to thank the National Digital Inclusion Alliance that has really helped to pull a lot of this great information together, and really throughout the entire nation have pulled all the digital equity practitioners to the table. So I really want to thank them all. And of course, I do want to thank again the Broadband Hui. There are many people at the Digital Net Inclusion 2023. And if you find them, please, seek them out. I do want to finally say that, you've heard the term, digital equity is the heartbeat of this broadband technology. But, here in Hawaii, we really like to think that the idea of digital equity is our effort, our mission, our cause to spread aloha. So with that, I want to say mahalo. If you want to know what that really means, seek out any of the folks that are part of the Hawaii contingent there at Net Inclusion, and they will tell you what it means to spread aloha through this work that we're all doing. So mahalo, everybody, and thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Boy, it's a little
congratulations.
embarrassing to see myself in a video.
I see. I'm glad you turned over running the meeting to me, because you would have never done that to yourself. So
Thanks, Riley.
see, watch what you wish for, Bert. Okay. So I'd like to may call on Kala, and he can give like 2 or 3 minutes on his takeaways from the conference. It was an awesome conference with like-minded people with serving hearts. And so Kala.
Yeah, thank you. And congratulations again, Bert. I just kind of walked around and said that I knew Bert Lum at the conference. And I think one of the big takeaways for me was that, like, going to the conferences, I mean, to the workshops and hearing what other states were doing, I left pretty confident that we were doing really good stuff here in Hawaii. I mean, seriously, that was my takeaway. It wasn't like cocky because we had a lot of stuff to do. It was just that we've been doing good work, and to see Bert recognized, you know, I was definitely thrilled with that. But there's a you know, I think my concern, if I drop in a concern, is that we had a really good start, but my grandfather used to say all the time, it's not how you arrive, it's how you finish. And I've been telling people that we're challenging all the other states in the country, and I got a great opportunity. I was on the North Star panel and talking about how we're using North Star in Hawaii and what we're doing in Hawaii. And throughout that challenge again, so now Nebraska is in it, Virginia, and along with Louisiana, they were in the room, and I said, hey, listen, we want to challenge your state to a digital literacy challenge. And you know, I think my concern is that, you know, we need to keep the pedal to the metal kind of stuff and keep the fire hot as we go through this. There's a lot of, I'm gonna say this, a lot of people getting involved and interested, and they all have different reasons. And I think we just need to make sure that the digital equity declaration that we began the Broadband Hui with has a North Star on it and keeps us going. So I was really, really happy. And you know, Bert, no worries. People thought that Riley was you anyway. So we were, you know, we had no problem. We just think Bert really is here, and we're good to go. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, people actually were calling me Bert. I've been called.
Yeah, you're more handsome. You're more handsome
I've been
anyway, so
called
that's good.
worse. Yeah. But Amber, you want to give a couple of takeaways from the meeting?
Thanks so much, Riley. Just checking my sound here. I'm on a little different system. Good. Great. I just dropped a quick link in the chat here for the whole group, and I wanted to talk about a couple of key takeaways from my perspective at the event. One of them is actually going to be very important for Hawaii coming up, and it's related to our digital equity plan. One of the outcomes of this plan, and one of the focuses of this event, actually, because every state in the country is in this planning process right now, are the upcoming capacity grants and competitive grants that will be released next year at some point, hopefully in the spring. One of the things we learned in San Antonio is that the NTIA is looking for feedback from all of the states on how those grants should be structured, how they should be delivered, and the kinds of focus areas that they should have. So I've put this link in here, and I know that as a group, and potentially as a Hui here, or other you know, counties even specifically could do this, but to create some really specific feedback and to start sharing that out back to the national office, because these grant programs are going to be constructed based on this feedback. So I just wanted to encourage everyone to start thinking about, you know, in our experience in Hawaii, the best ways that grant programs can be delivered, the ways that reporting happens, the kind of deliverables that we want to look at that will help our communities here the best, and then to get that feedback together and get that to NTIA. It's actually a bit unusual to get the opportunity to help kind of construct and frame out a grant program like this. The whole grant program is the Digital Equity Capacity Grant Program nationally will be $1.44 billion. And the Competitive Digital Equity Program will be $1.25 billion nationally. So these are huge programs, and I really want to put our best foot forward and not only have a great digital equity plan, which you guys will all be hearing more about in the weeks and months to come, but at this point start to put together some great feedback to make sure that when those grants do come, they're going to work for us here in Hawaii. So that's one of my big pushes, and we've all been looking at this, but I think everyone on the Hui is going to have something great to offer. And please do take a moment and you know, take a look at that link, and feel free to email myself or Bert if you want to go that route, or you can email them directly with feedback you have. So that's one big takeaway. The other is about the ACP program. Affordable Connectivity Program, formerly the EBB program. I know we've spoken about it here a lot over the years since the programs have come out, and there's been a huge amount of enrollment in Hawaii. It was actually one of the things that are at the awards ceremony that was brought up on the stage was the number of enrollment. I believe it's just over 33,000. Is that correct, Kaala and Bert? I believe, or 35. We have a good enrollment. 39 now. Yeah,
We're at
great.
39, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Riley. So this program it's currently funded federally, and it's a subsidy program for eligible households, of which many districts and areas of Hawaii do qualify. We want to not only continue to try to get those enrollment numbers up and get these subsidies to our community members, but there's an ongoing national campaign and kind of movement to work on creating some storytelling and some success stories and some positive impact stories of the ACP program and the subsidies to individuals, how it's helped their lives and how it's helped them to kind of bridge the digital divide. And I wanted to plant that seed. The funding is not at this point guaranteed for forever. So I think part of what the national kind of community around digital equity is wanting to do is create some more stories, create some more support, and kind of keep this groundswell of support for the ACP program going so that we can support these national efforts to get the funding long term. So right now, I believe we have another 2 years of ACP. I know there's some people in here that know more about that program than I do, but what I want to do is just encourage anyone who's been a part of ACP enrollments to think about individuals or communities or neighborhoods or any great stories they have around the positive impact of those ACP programs so that we can share those out with our national team and help support them to tell the story of why these programs and these subsidies should continue. So those were two of my big takeaways on the hard side of things, the takeaways, the work that we're going to do moving forward. But I did just want to kind of back up and talk about the award ceremony itself. I stood in for Bert to accept his award from the Benton Institute, and it was a great honor for me to be able to take on that role. And I actually thought the video message from the Lieutenant Governor and Bert's responses were beautifully done. And I will say I had many people approach me after the event, after the ceremony, to say how moved they were by the video message. And I actually am grateful in a way that you weren't there, Bert, because now we have a permanent this permanent beautiful speech to look at and to share out for a long time to come. And having the Lieutenant Governor on there was just fantastic and just a huge honor. So everyone at Benton Institute and at Net Inclusion was just so impressed. And I want to also just give a huge shout out. I was the state representative there on behalf of Bert, and we had a really large amount of support from around the state of Hawaii there. Other folks interested in digital literacy and equity and wanting to learn more about what's happening in the future, what the funding streams are going to have, and probably most importantly, I think for all of us, speaking to other states and counties to hear what are their best practices, what's worked for them, what are their takeaways, especially states that are a little bit ahead of us on the timeline. What did they learn that we should be learning from? So I want to just make a huge shout out to everyone who made the effort to come. Pono from Maui came, Riley came, Shola came. We had Doug Adams there. I did try to upload a photo here. I couldn't quite get that photo, Bert, you sent me that we had yesterday. I couldn't quite get it into the chat for some reason, but we have a couple great photos. We all took photos in front of Bert's giant face on the screen after the ceremony, and that was very fun. And we had a whole bunch of people from NDIA that came in and took photos. So it was a really beautiful and moving ceremony. And the last thing I'm going to say is Kaala and Rebecca, I think, almost moved the entire room to tears with their Oli. It was so heartfelt. It was just an incredible moment for the whole event, for everyone who attended, to just feel that energy that Hawaii brought, especially these two, they brought to the stage to honor Bert and to really honor everyone who was there. So I'm still feeling it, and I thought it was just really beautiful. And thank you again for sharing that again today, Rebecca. That was very special. And thanks to everybody who came. It was really, really appreciated.
Yeah, there's Crystal and Chantel. Yeah, awesome.
Oh, thanks for remembering us, Riley.
Sorry, Crystal, I didn't see your face on here. That's why, sorry. You guys were great. And I know you guys actually have a lot of photos and media assets for us. So I know that you probably took better photos than, people who I gave my phone to in the audience. So we're excited to see some of those shots too.
Yeah, Chantel had a real camera. That was made to be a camera. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the award-winning Bert Lum to provide an update on the what is that, Hawaii Broadband Digital Equity Office.
Thanks, Riley, and thanks, Amber. Thanks everybody who went to San Antonio to represent Hawaii. I think that was a great job that you all folks did to spread aloha on the continent. So that was really good. I was hoping that Crystal could actually share that photo, because it was nice to see everybody grouped together and actually, I had the photo, but for me to multitask is challenging enough, But anyway, if you are on Instagram, you can probably find it, on my Instagram account. With that said, a couple things that I wanted to mention, and Amber said it in a way that maybe more clearly might be articulated by saying that if you know of any kupuna, and Kaala, this is probably perfect for you. So if you know of any kupuna that went through a digital literacy class that might have been very interested in, like let's say, oh yeah, that's the one. And Doug Adams was there, right? Pono. So I was just very pleased to see all the representation from Hawaii, at the Net Inclusion 2023. That was great. So anyway, so Paula, if you know of anybody that has gone through your class and actually was interested in like e-commerce, I think what would be really cool, and Amber, you can fill in the blanks here, but didn't you say that the NDIA folks were actually willing to do a video of them and their interest in not only broadband but digital literacy, digital taking a class, and what I would like to see is that if we can help tell the story of how the folks that are interested in digital literacy, the covered populations, and their potential interest in things like e-commerce, that really helps to tie it into the digital economy. And oftentimes people wonder, like, what's the connection between digital equity and our economy? And of course, it's probably like a given to all of us on this call that if you're not able to do any let's say remote work or health or education or even access to government services, I mean, you're pretty much out of the loop. But this needs to be said in a very heartfelt, in the words of a kupuna, I think would be great. So anyway, Kala, you know anybody that would potentially be a qualifier for an interview like that? And I think, Amber, what's the deal? Would NDIA actually come out and video that? Or do we have to do
I
the
think
video?
we have, I talked to a lot of people that are doing outreach for the community, and I did speak to all the folks that I could at NDIA, and I know there's just a lot of interest in getting these stories out. And so what we can do is if we have somebody, and the key thing is someone who's willing to have their image and their photo and their video shared publicly, right? So we have to have somebody who's willing to kind of be out there that way. And that's not everybody, but I do know that there are probably some people that would be happy to take on that role. So if we have those stories, we're going to circle back. Once we find those individuals, we'll circle back with NDIA and Net Inclusion folks and let them know, and then start that process of seeing if we can get some photographs and get a video done of them and use that for publicity for the program, because they want to show that this program has really made a positive impact on everybody that's received it. And so they want those individual stories, those kind of emotional stories to share, so that our federal leaders or federal leadership can start hearing how much this program matters to people who don't have a lot of financial resources, because it is a direct benefit to folks that qualify for it. And we really support the program, and we want it to continue. And we believe that storytelling is the best way. And I'd love to see a story from Hawaii make it onto that national stage. So if we can get those folks out, we will push as hard as we can to get that story put on the national.
Yeah, we had Auntie Jingle on here a couple of weeks ago, and she has gone through our basic 001 class, got a Chromebook, and has since started on an online e-commerce business with us as well. And, I mean, she's not, she started with $100 investment in starting her business on Amazon. She's on Etsy, but she's killing it right now. She has 2 products. She's going to, actually, she's 60 something years old, and we're introducing her to AI generated art for print on demand products on Etsy. So she's in our program with Kamehameha Schools. She was already on this video. I mean, if you go from like 0, she wasn't 0, I mean, 001 to now she's making some actual income. It's like one of those really, really interesting stories, but there's tons of kupuna through this. So it's not like, do we have, it's like, picking out who is going to be able to do it. So not a problem. Send me know when you want. And 11 would be a great idea too, Garrett. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds perfect, because I want to answer the question that sometimes gets posed to me, like, so what if you get a bunch of kupuna on the internet? What does that have to do with the digital economy? And so I think these kinds of stories need to be told, so that, heck, I mean, anybody who has any doubt in their mind, we can clear that doubt up and have it be told by authentic voices. So yeah, let's work on that. So Paula, let's kind of hook her up, and let's Garrett volunteered the video team over at UA. So
that was great, Garrett. That was great, Garrett. Thanks for volunteering people, Garrett.
I did want to jump in here, Riley, and sorry, I just noticed in our chat, we do have a guest on the call that I don't know if we've really seen on here much, and somebody who we all got to meet at NTIA and got to sit with us for a while, who is part of the leadership team for Hawaii from the federal side. So she's part of our kind of oversight committee. She's in I believe our regional director is the title, but I wanted to give Susan Walters a chance to just jump on and say hi for a moment. We had a great time connecting with her, and I think she got to meet everyone from Hawaii and sat with us for a while and was part of the cheering squad during the award ceremony. I don't know if you want to come on camera, Susan. We didn't prepare you, but this sometimes happens on the Hui call, regardless of how camera ready we are. But it's a treat to have you on here today.
Yes, I don't often get to join. It's the same time as the leadership meeting that we have at NTIA, but several people are out, and so our meeting was canceled. But it was great spending time with all the folks from Hawaii. And Laura is in training today, so she couldn't be here. So I'm glad I had an opportunity to join and congratulate Bert again. It was a wonderful presentation, and really appreciated, I guess, Becky and folks, singing to open that up, and really created, as you said, Amber, a tremendous feeling of warmth and appreciation at the event. And for those of you who haven't attended before, typically last year there were about 330 people. This year there were like 820 people. So it was a whole different order of magnitude. And Koala, I'm so glad you challenged the other states. That's great. There's just, right, that's wonderful. Because everybody, there are so many people focused, and it's on, closing the digital divide and doing it in a meaningful way. That it's really good to keep us energized in different ways and be able to really bounce off of other states and what's going on. And I'm so looking forward to the meaningful engagement that I know Hawaii is going to do with the stakeholders and building out its BEAD plan and its digital equity plan. So thanks, Amber. I won't take up any more time, but
Susan, I just wanted to give you a chance. Do you mind telling everybody kind of what your role is? Because not
Sure.
everyone got the chance to meet you in person, but where do you sit in this whole NTIA world of funding and supervision and all that?
Yes, not that everybody should remember, I've been here a couple of times, but so we have, for the first time for NTIA, actually, people in every state. And so Laura is the state lead, right, for Hawaii. And Laura, along with 8 other folks, work on the West team. And so I'm responsible for the West team, and we have, I have 8 different Western states. And so I'm really here to provide support to Laura and her peers, for each state, and really trying to be yet another advocate for the state's interest, both to folks in the state as well as at NTIA. And I think it's just so important to have people who live in the states, who know the communities, right, who really can move across different stakeholder groups. And so you are well represented by Laura.
That's why Susan had a bullseye on her back at the conference. She was a target of many.
It's true, I was busy.
Thanks, Susan. Just to kind of complete out my little Hawaii Broadband Digital Equity Office corner, part of the Broadband Hui conversation. So, Amber did a good job of bringing up the fact that there's an opportunity to comment and provide input on the capacity grants. And I'm going to drop another link in the chat, which is a really good write-up by the folks over at the Benton Institute. So let me do that. And this really kind of helps articulate what it is that this feedback is looking for. So you can read the Federal Register as well as the NTIA site, but this and that's why I said it on my little video, that oftentimes the amount of work that the Benton Institute folks put into this newsletter and these articles and the analysis is really super valuable. And if anybody on the Broadband Hui call today, if you're not already on the Benton daily newsletter, I would highly recommend it because it's super, super valuable. And my little inside call out to Kevin. Kevin is the guy that actually produces the newsletter. He does it religiously every morning, except on the weekends. And if I had a little more time, I would have told the story that there was probably a day like in the week sometime over the last 146, 7 weeks that it didn't appear in my daily thread of thread of emails, and usually it's the first one that comes in on my government like Hawaii.gov. And it didn't appear, and I was like, where is it? I don't know how to start my day without reading the Benton newsletter. So I actually emailed them and said, hey, where's the newsletter today? And I guess you had skipped one day, so that's a little story that I would have told if I was doing it live. But anyway, so read that analysis that they have of the opportunity to respond to the digital equity capacity grant feedback as well as the competitive grant. And I think, again, as Amber said, if you want to, bounce that off of me and Amber, that'd be great. Or if you want to go in direct, that's fine too. So, just want to encourage your participation in helping to frame up how they roll out the capacity grants. Okay, and then let's see. The other thing that I wanted to speak quickly about is I did issue some draft rules. Everybody probably forgot about these because, the whole week, everybody was in San Antonio. But this rulemaking is part of a requirement that from the aspect of Act 225 back in 2021, rules need to be made for the broadband infrastructure grant plan. So that is due back to me just as draft feedback from all of you on this Friday. So what I will do once I get that feedback is to incorporate it into the rules, and then we will go out to a public hearing on the rules. And this is a formal part of the rulemaking process that we would do. And I say this because it's an exercise that is valuable, and it has also applicability if the digital equity grant program bill makes it through this legislative session. So this rulemaking is for the broadband infrastructure grant, and if the digital equity grant program bill does pass, we would do rulemaking for the digital equity grant program as well. So this is a good sort of required exercise that we would need to go through. So anyway, take a look at that. I think Amber, if Amber, you wanted to give any more update on the digital equity plan, I think we'll probably have more next week. We're just trying to get some of the finalized feedback from NTIA on our set of questions, because what we had to do is we had to submit what we were going to basically ask our interviewees and make sure that they were acceptable from something called human subject research. And we are asking for an exemption for, that we based on our questions, we're not collecting private information and confidential information. So we submitted those questions, and we're just waiting for the NTIA to give us clearance on our, just basically give us a, what is it, Amber? Like a acceptance of our questions for, continuing on with our interviews so that we're not subject to the human subject research.
Yeah, that's right, Bert. So, we had a great working session with our group of team members about a week and a half just before we went to San Antonio. That we did a big almost all day working session. We finalized all of our questions for both our individual interviews that we'll be having as well as our focus groups. And then we've done a bunch of editing and some back and forth. So we worked with Laura on them, and now they've been submitted for final review or for approval through NTIA. And once those questions are back, we're actually going to start scheduling out some of our outreach events pending the approval of those questions. We do have to wait for that before we can go out in community and collect any of our results or any of our data. But I guess what we can say about the digital equity plan outreach is that we are pushing along really, really quickly. And I know everyone's excited to get out in community, and we will definitely make sure we share out on the Hui, on the list and on the call as soon as we have anything scheduled. So folks will know where we're going and when we're going to be there, so that they can have a chance to be involved. So we will keep you guys posted, but everything's going great. And we've got a really wonderful team supporting us, and who many of you already know. So we're really happy about how things are going.
Thanks, Amber. Is the last couple of things I wanted to cover is back to ACP, and there's a bunch of ACP pop-ups coming up. And David, you want to run through your ACP pop-up schedule?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a few events coming up in the next months, 3 of which are confirmed, and then 2 of which are kind of on the prospects, or we're still kind of confirming details. But the 3 that are confirmed and coming up are, one, Prince Kuhio celebration. That's going to be Saturday, March 25th from 4 to 9 at the Nanakuli Village Center. The next one is going to be the Towers at Kuhio Park quarterly seasonal kind of holiday giveaway that they do. So we're re-invited there, and we're going to be there Thursday, April 6th, from 1:30 to 3:30. And then the next one that is confirmed is the big one. It's the Celebrate Micronesia Festival from May 20th. So it's a Saturday, I think. And then that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Bishop Museum. And then I just talked with Mary Hattori on Monday, and I'm meeting with her later today to do a site visit at Bishop Museum. And they still have some open spots left for vendors if anyone wants to come and reach out to these communities, or the Micronesian community or Pacific Island communities. You can save the date, so May 20th, 2023, and then just send her an email. I'll be sure to drop it in the chat right before I go. And then the two events that we have that are still kind of being decided on details. One is the Papakole Ohana Health Fair. That's happening April 1st. That's a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Lincoln Elementary School. And then there's a Marshallese Education Day, Saturday, April 22nd at, I think, Central Middle School. That one I still have to register for as a vendor, but I will be sure to provide updates in the future as those details get solidified. And then I'll drop my email in the chat if anyone wants to reach out, or if anyone's interested in coming out or participating or supporting. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share, Bert.
Thanks, David. And when you get the list that starts to get solidified in terms of place, date, time, we can maybe get that up on our website so people can have a reference to all the dates that you just shared. So lots of stuff going on with the ACP pop-ups. And David, thanks for hustling all those communities. I think the one that's coming up at the Bishop Museum should be kind of fun. Do you have to if you're gonna are you planning an ACP pop-up over there? And did you have to pay to do that?
Yeah, so this one I think is they have an admission fee for community members or general public. I think it's just about $5 or so. But if you come support us or you work at the booth, I think the fee is waived.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. The other thing is that there is a lot of interest in perhaps some of the collateral for ACP, and I've been talking to a group called Education Superhighway, and so I wanted to get Jenny Miller. She's been on the call before, but I'm thinking that it'd be good to have Jenny kind of go through some of the outreach material that they've helped to put together, and what I plan to do is I'll reconvene the ACP outreach subgroup, and I'll be sending that out sometime, and then I'll invite Jenny to give us an overview of what kind of collateral or websites or outreach material they help to produce. And I know Dan's given me some feedback on how they might be best utilized, and I think they have the resources to kind of put some customized websites together. So I wanted to take advantage of that, and I'll have her share what they can do. And they also have a pretty active social media campaign that can point people to the websites and various resources. So want to try to activate that. And I'm still so anyway, stay tuned for ACP outreach subgroup, and hopefully I will also get an update from the FCC, but I haven't heard a peep out of the FCC for what's happening with the ACP outreach grant program. So I'm sure it's going to be soon, because they said they were going to let us know in March, and that could be anywhere between now and the end of March. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, I'll end with this article. Let's see if I can find it. That I would suggest you get a chance to read it. I also saw this on Benton newsletter, and it just talks about digital equity and what what happens once we start rolling with the federal projects and the federal funding, and realizing that it's a one-time investment, right? So what happens after that, and what is it that we need to start thinking about as we move, into the years going forward, and where some of the monies might come from to continue this work. And so it's a good article to start thinking about what happens, post digital equity capacity grants and competitive grants. How do we make sure that we have a sustainable model moving forward? So anyway, good read, and I just want to suggest that for anyone interested. Thanks, Riley.
Yeah, so I saw Pono join, and so I wanted to get Pono. We're kind of going through our takeaways, top 2-3 things from the conference last week. So can you just share your manao on that?
Yeah, aloha everybody. Shucks, if you guys never make it to San Antonio, you guys miss out. I became a better salsa dancer now that I got back home. So it should have been with us. Riley is just amazing. Not just kidding, but the resources, the context they was able to get is just phenomenal. To see how it's operating on a national level, to create relationships is key. And to see what new organizations was able to work with some people, policy, continuing to connect and text and email. And I think that's something amazing. For myself, sitting as a executive assistant to the mayor, and here with Maui County, our mayor is definitely making it known that he is behind broadband and digital equity. He is very supportive of that, moving that into the community. He actually even says that it is a basic necessity. To a point, is like for us, it's on human right, access to information, access to education, access to health and wellness. That's what we need to provide. So coming back home, I took a lot of notes as to how we can engage, with other communities, tribal communities, how this can help with Hawaiian homes locally, what's the difference and approach. But also some of the missions within entities and within other counties. And what I love and what I saw is that there's a movement in counties that are actively participating by creating departments of broadband and digital equity, or creating departments of innovation and technologies that's spearheading the way for digital equity. And I think that is very, very, very important. So my report back to the mayor coming home is was actually really phenomenal, really great, to a point that it helped give me the courage to request to put a line item in, for broadband, and for us to actively set aside allocations, whether it be for positions, outreach, continued participations with more conferences and with our tribal leaders out there. The mayor is definitely actively engaging on developing opportunities within the broadband community. Now, I did take away something that I thought was very important within the tribal communities, because they receive a lot of funding in developing their infrastructure, and funds are actually definitely moving down for them. When they developed their infrastructure and created all these opportunities within digital equity and provided services, they greatly lacked the workforce. That's a big thing for them. And I think that's a big thing for us too, is that we can create all these opportunities within the digital equity realm, but then yet we're not prepping ourselves to farm our own workforce. So I think my meetings from here would have to work with Maui here, with Uncle Louis guys, to tap into what their workforce allotment, and start really looking at and start doing more partnerships. And what I love about, thank you for all the information coming out from Riley folks, Shola guys, because for myself, the recommendation to our mayor is that we need to start duplicating some of these processes so we can be consistent throughout the state. So my recommendation was to look at what the Big Island is doing, mimic what they're doing, create staffing like what they're doing, create our mapping like what they're doing, create their website like what they're doing. And that way there's a consistency throughout it all. And hopefully I can continue to work with Amber guys and making sure we get a part of that digital planning, digital equity plan, because I truly believe that is super important. But with that being said, guys, if moving forward, and I don't know if it's on a state level or however participation you want, in my personal opinion, if you have the ability to attend any of these conferences at this level, we've seen states, counties represent in masses, over 800 plus people in attendance. I think Hawaii, we repped, 6 of us, I think it was, or so. And we have multiple islands. I think if we can get our Kauai Ohana on board, I did reach out to Kauai already, so hopefully they can jump on board soon. Reached out to Council Chairman Raposo, and then hopefully we can continue to build up Hawaii collectively. But with that being said, anyone get any questions for me? Hopefully I don't take up too much of your time, Riley. Sorry.
No, that's good.
And
we've
if you
been-
guys like, sorry, one more thing. If you guys like donate to the podcast, if you saw Riley's hotel, oh my goodness, bro, it was like Bates Hotel. That guy went relive one movie. Help Big Island, because they was lack the funding with the place they would put him. We actually had him check in every night and every morning if he got home okay and if he got up in the morning. But right on, Riley. Thank you, brother. Aloha.
Yeah, that's Doug can pay for dinner. No. But yeah, I mean, it was the only hotel that I could get through procurement procedures or whatever, but it was only $65 a night. Yeah, it's unheard. 4 nights, 5 days was $340. But the product reflected that value, so that's why I had to run past the last 2 blocks in the black hole of the city to get to the hotel. So yeah, Bono saw me run the last night. Anyway, moving back to the agenda, to Garrett issued a straw man of the BEAD 5-year plan. Yeah, so I wanted Garrett to actually share with us and give us a executive summary on that.
Thanks, Riley. So we're I think we're with Pono. We'll start the GoFundMe page for you for Riley's safe place. Oh my goodness. $65. I don't think we can find hotels for $65 anymore.
I think the hotel actually charges by the hour. You know what I mean? But,
Okay, TMI. So let me first say that Pono, you're right on. Absolutely, everybody should double down on this stuff. It's a really good time to leverage other people's money, and to the extent that the counties, and I think everybody's interested, can help focus attention in the local issues. I think that's a really good place to play, especially for the counties. You will be encouraged that we have had actually a couple of different conversations with the folks on Kauai within the past week. So they're jumping on the bandwagon as well. So I think the conversations in particular among the counties is going to be really good to support this effort. Hopefully, as I think Bert's got a pretty good update as you start to launch the outreach on the digital equity side. One thing I'll talk about in the BEAD area, we actually have, so there's a plan with a larger scope involved, but that specifically includes the digital equity stock. So although the timing is a little weird, the BEAD thing, the 5-year plan is actually due in July. Bert's digital equity effort is due in November. And that digital equity plan is required to be incorporated in the 5-year plan. So go figure. So obviously we'll incorporate by reference. We'll include whatever we can that's ready by June or July. And we'll also reference the effort going forward to make sure that the pieces are all connected, because that is absolutely critical. For Susan's ears, Laura is constantly making sure that she's reminding us to make sure that all the efforts have to be integrated together and to make sure that, you know, we move forward as a single effort on behalf of the state as a whole. So, you know, in particular, as we start to reach out, you know, Bert talked about starting to do outreach specifically for the DE plan. What we want to do is we have similar requirements on the B planning side as well. We do want to make sure that we don't have 50 guys show up at every single house asking exactly the same thing. So we do want to make sure that we can leverage each other's efforts as much as possible. It'll also help us with the time crunch on getting the B planning stuff done. The straw man, Riley mentioned, the draft straw man. We actually posted an update just a few days ago. It's labeled. So for those of you that pulled down the plans, the one that we just posted is labeled March on the title page versus February on the original one that was posted a few weeks ago. It has a little bit more detail in it because, you know, we're starting to plug in some information, but the purpose of the straw man is really to provide information as we reach out to community members, to counties, to nonprofits, to businesses, to the various partners around the state. The straw man is an attempt to help provide context for the stuff that we're trying to do. So it's not a predetermined plan. It's not all, you know, all pushed out in terms of detail, but there's a bunch of lightly written areas and then a bunch of bullet points in some areas, but may need to give folks an idea of what we're trying to produce. The structure was released by NTIA, you know, a few months ago. So we're working within that structure to provide the template for the conversations. Oh, thanks. Riley just dropped the link in the chat. It's also available on our website at hawaii.edu/broadband. So we encourage folks to take a peek at it. Again, lots of the stuff is blank in the straw man, specifically because we didn't want to push things out that said, this is what the plan is, and we just want you to look at it so we can tell everybody you looked at it. It's blank for a reason, to make sure that we can take broad input and have folks comment on it. If anybody wants to provide comments directly, drop me an email. I think there's an email address in the posting on our website, broadband@hawaii.edu. Drop me an email directly, gioshimi@hawaii.edu. I'm happy to take input however folks want to provide it, including, you know, if somebody just wants to drop notes in the call. A couple of things as we start to develop this out. We will continue to push updates to the site as we start to fill out the different pieces based on conversations in the community. In particular, this 5-year plan is kind of a strategic level plan in terms of how the state intends to deploy its speed resources. There are opportunities following the 5-year plan in terms of both the state's speed initial proposal, how the monies actually get divvied out. There is another step after that called the final proposal. And then in between, there's a process called a state challenge. So there's several opportunities and cycles as we go from now to the end of the year and into the early part of 24 that we'll be cycling through to make sure we get to the place where we actually deploy the hard funds into the field and get stuff built. BEAD is first and foremost high priority to hit unserved and underserved areas. So that's the connection back to the FCC mapping effort. Hopefully the FCC mapping effort continues to get better. And for those of you that have been frustrated with the inability to get to the raw data, I'm happy to report that, as promised, NTIA is actually working to break that license barrier with CostQuest and the FCC so that NTIA can help us get the data out into the field. They've been in negotiations with CostQuest for quite a while now to get that done, and we're hoping to see an actual the ability to use it directly in our BEAD process and in our own challenge processes, so that folks can actually see that data. Because for those of you that know, every time we have to display it, we kind of have to hide the detail, so we don't release the actual dots that are sitting underneath the map. But for those that are looking at some of the broadband maps that we've been posting on our site, we've actually derived the data from the raw fabric data to try and get to identifying locations, identifying different overlays as far as who's funding what. Probably talked a little longer than Riley wanted me to, but feel free to take a look at it, comment. We're absolutely inviting any comments thoughts, suggestions, recommendations. And again, the idea is we drive through this process, 5-year plan, initial proposal, state challenges, final proposal that will happen before we actually get to release construction money into the field. Between for our partners on the call, between now and the time we get to the final proposal, we will have to run through a number of competitive procurements to figure out who does what in terms of the actual contractors in the process. So, for those that are partners in the area of construction and deployment, make sure you keep an eye out on the progress and announcement so that you folks are ready to help us help partner with us to help us spend the money. We can't do it ourselves. The state doesn't do, building and deployment on its own. We contract for that stuff. So this is where the folks in the field are really critically important to make sure you folks can help us make it happen. Thanks, Riley.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Garrett,
Garrett.
can I add something?
Yeah.
So, I meet, Amber and I meet regularly with Susan Hirai, and I would like to encourage the counties, Riley and Pono, and I think Nate is on this, and Constancio, to connect with Susan to perhaps identify where might be some good rural locations for outreach to take place. Now, there is a plan, and Laura is putting this plan together to have an informational kind of briefing called a Hoike that's going to take place on the different islands. But we want to make sure that, as communities start to be involved with this process, we identify those rural communities that want to have us come in and do these questions and surveys, so that we're going to where the need is. And I want to emphasize that you need to get to Susan to start thinking about where those locations might be. Amber and I, we're kind of focused in on these covered populations because that's what the digital equity plan is asking for. So if you look at a kind of like a little Venn diagram, we're doing covered populations, and there's an overlap between rural and what the BEAD outreach is going to do. So I think there's another audio going on here.
Many of them, in fact, are correct. But his prognosis, his sort of
Sorry, Bert, it looks like there's some background noise.
is totally wrong.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
disconnect is strange.
Riley's gonna have to
It becomes stranger
mute that.
when you see some of the things that Andrew Tate has said
We're trying
recently.
to
There's a tape that emerged on the Twitters over the course of
Somebody
the last
has a radio or something, TV that we
about
could
whether
hear.
you prefer to have sex with a male who had had many surgeries to look like a female, but still had not had bottom surgery, meaning you still had the full
I think
male
it's perfect.
appendage, or a very ugly.
Thanks, Riley.
Thanks.
Hey,
Yeah.
so Bert,
just
just to loop back on the conversations. Yeah, that was an interesting sidebar. But just looping back on the conversations. So actually, as part of, so you remember the Act 231 structural working group. As part of that, we actually did finally get all representatives from all 4 counties identified. So Constancio for Honolulu, Pono, actually you're identified for Maui by MD. Nate Prescott from Kauai, and Doug for Kahiapo-Trevino. So Susan's actually having direct conversations. I think, Pono, she's trying to reach out to you because you were in San Antonio, yeah? I guess we have to mix the salsa stuff in with the conversations, but she should be reaching out to you already.
Thank you.
Part of that is in what Bert just says. We want to make sure that we're gonna leverage all of our friends to help do this reach out, because we can't do it by ourselves. And you know what? And we shouldn't do it by ourselves. You folks are the ones on the ground and know your community the best. So
with in San Antonio, we figured that was the next step, because you issued the straw man, and that utilizing some of the framework in community outreach that Hawaii County, that Shoreline has set up.
Yep.
And you saw those maps and the entities with the high deck, the digital equity coalition. So to take that and we'll work with Kauai and Honolulu County. Pono, the bugger running down the road already. He's all good. He took our stuff and he's running down the road. So if we can work with Constancio, work with you and Nate and with Shola, Issa, myself, we could set up the kind of platform of data and outreach to organization in order to have a similar format. What you would end up doing is follow the NDIA trailblazer requirements. And we use those 6 requirements to actually get our act together and what we needed to do. But we'll help you do that. And so that way, we will end up with all 4 counties as NDIA trailblazers, meaning you have to have a plan. You have to have regular meetings with your community. You have to have resources committed like money and or, somebody staffing. And that's where, Garrett, we can talk about possible using some of the grant funding for county focused community outreach staffing. Yep. And so that's where I think Doug was trying to get a meeting like next week, either the 15th or 16th.
He's in town, right?
Yeah, and 15 and 16. So, but then FEMA is also in town too.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Doug's assistant already reached out, so we're trying to block some times on those 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if, we can, with Constancio and Nate and Pono, if we can get together, maybe before that, kind of talk about the framework and how we can maybe assist and fill in the blanks on the outreach for the community. And this is an economic stimulus move on us, because what we want to do is get all 4 counties as trailblazers recognized by the NDIA and become the first state to have 100% participation at that level with the NDIA and pull the conference in 2025 to Hawaii.
Sounds like a plan to me.
That's the plot. The strategy is to, go 100 all in. Okay. And so
in 2025, we'll make sure that Riley is the Benton Digital Equity Champion of the Year. So, we can go side by side and they can say, which one is Bert? Which one is Riley?
I don't know. I think Bert, you have to keynote.
All the Pro City Intermediate School graduates look alike.
Right.
Same year, us guys.
Oh,
intermediate.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Riley and Bert and Garrett. And if I could just echo that, I just wanted to share what we're doing here at the city and county since we've been involved, right? So we've had numerous conversations with Riley's team, kind of like gaining some of those frameworks and what they've been doing. So we've been leveraging that, and we've been in constant conversation with Garrett's team as well, with Susan. We do have access to by the way, thank you to Kiman, Susan, and Garrett's team for posting the broadband service map. It's on their site, so we're using that and kind of helping UH to, if you go through that map, you will be able to see the, and I think Susan shared that as well, the underserved and unserved communities. And what we're doing right now is to kind of validate that, and also think of different ways, like what Susan had mentioned before, like how can we engage the community to identify those areas, particularly on Oahu, right, where there is no broadband service levels, or and what could potentially be the reasons are as to why they don't have access, whether it's an infrastructure, hardware, or cost perspective, right? So I think that's what we're doing here at the City and County of Honolulu, and there's other entities and agencies, departments, and offices that are also involved and are having kind of like conversations on the side as well on how we can ultimately support the state on this effort. We just had our meeting with all of the other industries as well. Industry professionals are also in this meeting to kind of talk about that. So very happy to support that effort. Tony's here as well from the city and county of Honolulu. So we're really supporting Garrett's, Bird's and district state's overall goal of making sure that, you know, we address those issues, and very happy to be a part of it. So
You have
just wanted to give you that
yeah,
update.
you brought on board Lenore also.
Yes, Lenore is also on the call. She's part of our team, and she is also helping with kind of, again, what can we do to identify what those areas are and to validate, you know, those areas that were shown as underserved and unserved, and support that effort as well. She is our data strategist here at the
Hi,
Office of
Riley.
Economic
Hi, I'm here.
Revitalization.
Yeah.
Sorry, Constantine. Thought you were done.
Awesome. The party's getting bigger.
Yeah, no, exciting.
Okay, so just before I forget, one more thing. You know, we talked about engaging some of the partners through the competitive procurement activities. I also wanted to also note that there's a handful of projects that'll hit RFP from Hawaiian Homelands. In particular, that's coming out of that initial Tranche 1 award that they got from NTIA. This is out of the tribal broadband connectivity monies. But there's some use and adoption projects, as well as we're currently working to finalize the RFP on the infrastructure planning thing to get that out on the street as well. So plenty of opportunities to help us do the work. Funded, not volunteer, funded, to help us do the work, and lots of work to do.
Yeah, Dan, you have your hand up?
Yes, and you know, I've been looking at some of the UH stuff, and I appreciate that. I think though, Garrett, it would be helpful if you had kind of more strategic level stuff even by island and community, preliminary, of course, but characterize the size of the problem. Because you know, we know, for example, Molokai, and I disagreed with one of your maps about an area, but you know, start to fill in some numbers. How big is it? And actually, in terms of sheer numbers, if we believe the Census Bureau, the largest unserved population, our households, is actually on Oahu, and that's actually an adoption question, not whether people could be connected. In general, you know, on Oahu they could be connected, but I would encourage properly labeled as preliminary. How many unserved in each area, and you know, and back of the envelope engineering about do we have enough money, for example. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Oh, and by the way, on technician training, Corning has some programs, you know, for people who have the basic background. You know, 1 week and $1,500. You're then you know, a cable splicer and so forth. You know, so anyway, those comments. Thank you.
And so then, as far as strategic type framework, that's exactly what Shola, Issa, and I want to share with the other counties, and walk through a conversation on how we set up HIDEC and extracted strategic actions from our community members. And, you know, we can help with that and get in a consistent format. And I think it would be very powerful, because it's entity by entity, with metrics, with goals, current status, and what the objective is for the outreach. And so that's part of the conversation we want to have inter-county, in which we can then feed that into the BEAD 5-year plan.
Okay,
So
thank you.
And yeah, so it's spot on with what you're describing. That's the end game. That'll be the meat on the bones of what and how we need to move forward. But Dan, I was gonna call on you. Oh, Susan, you have a question?
Hi, just a quick comment. Garrett, I saw the posting of the straw man in several different places, and it makes, more sense hearing you talk on the call here, because you're giving some context for, what it is and what your goals are for how it comes together. And I think that's great. It may be useful to put some of that when you post it, because people could misinterpret just posting it as this is the only way to have input. And I know you're open to, more than just people, doing the emails, and that there's a plan coming together to meet with different communities, for that discussion to happen. So I just don't want you to get the short end of the stick in terms of, the impression that you put out there. So just something to think about. It's so important, BEAD has the responsibility for having this ongoing dialogue over the next 5 years. So people's impression is just so important in terms of, community. Obviously folks on this call know, but in terms of the community that's, not here, we want them to understand how open you are, representing the state, obviously not you personally, but how open the state is to getting feedback and understanding their needs. So it's so exciting to see things getting actually going. And, we're looking forward to, it is going to be fairly intense, really over the next year, with all the different steps that you outlined that, we're going to go through. But we're looking to you guys just knocking it out of the park. So it's great.
Thanks, Susan.
So Dan, we've got 10 minutes left, and can you give us an update on the legislative?
Yeah, let's see if I can share my screen. Yes, I can. Okay, we're ready to go. All right. And I won't talk too much. Anyway, the kind of the major bills related to broadband that are out there, and their status. Okay, HB 963. It has crossed over from the House to the Senate, and the numbers are blank, and the straw person effective date 3,000, right? So it means they haven't filled in the money yet, but appropriating the state money. So that bill is alive, and its companion is not. So that's on its way, and there'll be some consultations. Next bill, 1408 HD3, which is our digital equity bill. State money to start outreach to duplicate Kahala, motivate people to help Kahala, and also I think get computers out to people in the house. I think that's important that we desire that. Anyway, that one passed out. It's a good thing I waited till yesterday to do the update, because a lot of these things just happened yesterday. So passed third reading, and it's crossed over to the Senate. So I'm only talking about the ones that are alive, and their companions in general did not survive, but that's okay. The main bills are still in effect. Okay, and here's the kind of news of the week, if you didn't know it already. SB 1317 did cross over into the House, and one of the things we want to know about is that good thing the Bert and the Lieutenant Governor have met, because that bill transfers the Digital Equity Office over to the Lieutenant Governor for 4 years. And it also does some appropriation for matching for BEAD and IIJA money. So they will sort that out in the weeks to come. So these are all bills that are crossed over, and they're in general their companions did not move, which is okay as long as they appear to be collaborating, so it's not kind of a wasted effort. And finally, these HB 371 and SB 478, basically eliminating reporting requirements to DCCA, because I think it's a valid argument that they have to now report to the FCC part of the mapping in fair amount of detail. So it eliminates kind of duplicate effort, and so you can have it. So those bills mutually crossed over, so they'll have to resolve it and work out their differences. So those are the main broadband bills, and that's it. Thank you. Open for questions, of course. And thanks for people who testify, and as I said, people like Kala, very well respected. Bert, other people, what's her name? Kieran from Couple A. It helps to show up and testify on these bills. Thank you.
Yeah, so I saw a posting that Hawaiian Tel. Janine, you have news on your fiber ring? Are you still on?
Yeah. Hi, Riley. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've been tracking this project. So it's a leg.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So it's been a while. It had been in planning stages and held up in permitting for a long time. And but suffice to say, we're very pleased that as of last month we were able to complete the connection between Pahala and Volcano, which was a few years in the works. And this essentially closes a 25-mile fiber gap in Hawaii Island. It provides about 99.99% more reliability and redundancy to the system, so that if there is a fiber cut to the network like we experienced, I think back in November, where some contractors that were installing PV up in North Kohala accidentally cut one of our lines, and that restricted service for Kona and other parts. That in the event that something like that happens in the future, with this new fiber ring, with the completion of the fiber ring, we'll be able to reroute signals accordingly to eliminate any future interruptions.
Yeah, that's great. Great news. There's this PFO company that's running fiber like near my home. And I'm not sure who they're working for, but there's more fiber being installed in the Big Island.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the contractors that we are working with. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any updates? We got 4 minutes.
Hey, Riley, is it okay if I jump on quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up, you mentioned just very briefly that we do have some of our Broadband Hui team from FEMA coming to Hawaii next week, and we are going to be hosting them for a site visit for one of the community networks. I just want to, I think I saw somebody from there on here. So feel free to reach out to me or to Bert or whoever if we want to find a way to connect. But we are going to have some meetings on GIS support for some of our data visualization for our outreach efforts and our ACP connectivity and our classes and stuff. We're going to do some mapping work with them and then show them some of the community networks. So I don't know if Phil or Michelle are on here now.
I see Phil's on. He's on.
Yeah, no, we're very excited about coming out there. Thank you, Amber. We are looking forward to better understanding what you need and how we can help. As Amber said, you know, it's your data, your mapping system. We just want to know if there's something that we can help provide to enable you to do more. And we're just in awe, like you know, of all the work that you've done. So our visit is to see you, get you to know us and see how we can help. So thank you.
So,
If I
Phil,
can-
you know, get ready to get your feet wet because we're gonna have you pull weeds in the low E.
Melissa?
We're gonna go out
Oh,
to
yeah.
Waiahole on the windward side. Oh, sorry, Melissa.
No worries, no worries. That sounds good. I'd love to join you too. But I just wanted to spotlight a couple of things I put in the chat because these are overall opportunities to comment on the CFR that governs all federal grants. So that was the first thing that I mentioned, and it's coming up quick. You know, it's March 13th, and there are very specific questions that they're asking you to respond to. But it just made me think of that when Amber posted the thing on the, you know, the NTIA opportunity. And the second thing is an opportunity to comment on the, you know, Buy America, Build America pieces that are going to be for IIJA and other opportunities that will affect our infrastructure projects. And so, you know, the way to kind of influence or at least let them know that these might be too onerous for some of our projects, you know, that's an opportunity to do so. So just posted those.
You know, before Riley says his final comments, I just want to thank Riley and his team, you know, Shola, Isa, Dan, Doug Adams, for taking the baton and running with the convening of the Broadband Hui. Riley, excellent job. And the, you know, our hat was
Shola
like
did
for
all the
that.
work. She's the person behind the curtain.
Well, you did, and Shola did an excellent job putting the agenda together. It's like 4 times longer than mine. So, you know, you got all the important information in the agenda. So really great job, Shola.
Yeah, she organized it to her brain. That's how Shola's brain works. Okay.
Oh, very good.
And sorry, one
Much
last
better
little
than
plug, Bert, before, just so that you know, we got to keep you humble, but I think a few folks on here know that there is a another award ceremony happening for Bert this week. And I don't know if if anyone from Junior Achievements on here, if anyone wants to talk about it, but we'll report back and share some pictures next week from that. But that is this Thursday. Is that right, Bert?
And right, and as I told my department managers here in DBIT that I am getting the Junior Achiever Award from Junior Achievement. So just to, you know, just to be clear, just to let you guys know.
Oh gosh. Okay. So look forward to seeing you next week. Remember, email Shola and I with anything you want to add to the agenda.
Thanks, mahalo, Riley.
Okay, aloha. And what did you say? Stay safe and be what? Live long.
Awesome.
Oh.
Stay awesome.
Okay, stay awesome. In the words of Bert Long.